Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Thank you so very, very much for being here. And thank you to the amazing Joyce who put these together this week. Beth did the last two. And thank you to her. Okay. We've got some interesting questions for Pendulum Friday. I may insert a couple of my own as we go along. I just thought, though, I would mention for those of you who maybe you're not quite so close to the 49th parallel. Here in Alberta, we are experiencing about 17 hours of daylight a day. So the sun rises about 5 in the morning. It sets sometimes after 10, but that's not including the lightning of, dawn and dusk. So when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because I don't know why, the sun is already, or the sky is already lightened up. So, we may not have long summers, but we sure as heck do get a lot of sun and daylight when we have them. So I guess maybe it balances. I don't know. Maybe somebody could remind me of that in like February when it's like minus 100 degrees. Okay, here we go. Get started. This one is about Alberta. Will Danielle Smith, who is the premier here, be found guilty of the investigations she is in? She is in big trouble with regards to health care contracts and how they were given out, awarded, that kind of thing. I don't know. Will she be found guilty, Pendulum? Yes or no? Will Danielle Smith be found guilty? Okay, that's a no, but I think on the next question, we may actually get the answer we're looking for. Will she be held accountable? Yes. Um, I just sort of instinctively want to say that when it comes right down to it, she's not going to want any of these allegations actually go into a public courtroom. So I suspect the closer that gets, the more willing she'll be to accept some degree of responsibility. And will she be removed? Oh, please, Jesus. Will she be removed from office before the provincial election in 2027? Oh my God, that's so far away. Will she be removed? Wow, that's a really strong yes. I'm a taking it. Um, okay, this one I'm not quite sure I have the answer for it. It's sort of like a law question. If 45 goes, will the cabinet go as well? Or is the U.S. stuck with these clowns? So, if 45 goes, J.D. Vance was sent to the seat of president. So the cabinet stays in place. If it's found and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was significant enough interference in the election and that swayed that and put him into office, I don't know if there's actually a constitutional answer for that, because in some ways they would almost have to nullify the results of the entire election. And then you have all reps and senators and all this who all of a sudden, like it would be such a huge mess. If he is impeached, then like when Nixon wasn't impeached, he left before he got impeached. But when they leave, then the rest of Congress stays in place. Now, she's asking specifically about the cabinet. If the cabinet, if there is a new president, even if it's Vance, God help us, he will then have the right to choose his own cabinet people, right? Secretary of this, secretary of that. Let me just make sure that that's accurate. Okay, so pendulum. Would any incoming president have the ability to select his preferred cabinet members? That's a yes. Don't forget, cabinet members are not voted in, they're chosen, which is how come you have a 22-year-old handling sort of, I don't know, terrorism or something. You've got completely ill-qualified people running massive departments. And that's how you get, Robert Kennedy, who was all about vaccine conspiracies, running the health department. Will Gavin Newsom eventually gain back control of his National Guard units from the Trump administration? Yes. Yeah. That was a line that he never should have stepped over. He stepped over it, and it's not going to hold. This is an interesting one. So somebody wanted to know if in the United States there will ever be a return to some stricter use of smoking marijuana when it's not supposed to be, such as driving in a car with kids and pets, in public places such as parks, parking lots, etc. Will there be a device similar to a breathalyzer created to measure degree of impairment to better allow law enforcement to make arrests? Okay, really interesting. So again, here in Canada, where marijuana is legal coast to coast to coast, it is considered the same as alcohol. So there are certain things that you're just not supposed to be doing when you've been drinking alcohol, like, drive a car. Now, I can't tell you honestly if there is some sort of a threshold like there is with alcohol, right? What is it, like 0.08? I'm not sure. I kind of think that may be something that is left to the judgment of whoever pulled them over, I suspect, or whoever's dealing with it. So let's see. Will there be stricter laws in the United States with regards to when, where, and how marijuana can be consumed? That is such a non-answer. There is no response there at all. So, I mean, I have to say, right, if at any point it was going to become a big issue, you would think it would be a big issue under the Trump presidency because he is so publicly adverse to drugs. And I suspect more liberal policymakers may bring something in. And like, first of all, you guys need to make it legal all over the place. And that's going to be enough of a, let's just ask that, shall we? Is marijuana going to become legal in the United States within the next 10 years? Okay, so that's a yes. I suspect at that point, that's when they bring in more stringent rules. Did Taco leave G7, which took place in Canada, because of medical issues? No. Was it really about him needing to get back home because of the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran? Was that the truth? Because he used that as his reason. Is that part of the reason that he was so quick to um, bomb Iran? That's a yes. So this was saving face, right? Um, and let's just ask again, because now there's a huge controversy, right? Because Trump says everything was absolutely like annihilated. Lindsey Graham says it was completely destroyed. There was nothing left. And meanwhile, other members of that committee who saw all the intelligence on it said, yeah, it might have set them back a handful of months. So here you have, right, which is something that we've all gotten kind of used to dealing with, where the facts don't matter. Yet someone's interpretation or perception of the facts that seem to rule the day. So, was the destruction as extensive as is being reported by the White House and the Department of Defense? No. Is it accurate to say that um, the destruction it caused is going to be rectified, replaced, within 3 to 6 months? As it stands right now, the answer is yes. So let's get back to the G7, shall we? Did Trump leave because he felt that he did not like the way he was being treated or received? Yes. And this is a question I would normally veer to, except it's come up in a couple of different places. So my question is this. It has been reported that people around um, Trump who were interacting with him at the G7 were experiencing a noticeable, unpleasant odor around him. Is that accurate? Yes. One of the other things that was pointed out that was really interesting is if you watched any of the coverage, um, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister here in Canada, made a point of keeping his hands behind his back. It was almost like his go-to position. And it was very kind of noticeable, particularly when he was around 45. That's just interesting. I'm not going to speculate on why, but it is interesting. Alrighty, here we go. Peter Hegseth held a Pentagon press briefing on Thursday morning in which he attacked the media and said they did not want Trump to be successful. He also attacked a reporter named Jennifer. I don't know who she's with, but I'm pretty sure it was Fox, who said that attack was completely uncalled for. This person is very much a credible reporter who has a great deal of experience and knowledge around the Defense Department. And the attack was completely unwarranted. So, did Trump ask or tell him to say that the media was being mean to him? Yes. Yeah, especially because, he's telling this story about Iran, but his own intelligence agency says it's not accurate, says what he's saying is not accurate. And then, he wonders why people question him. Was the Iranian nuclear stockpile destroyed? No. Some of 45's fans see him as bringing about the rapture. Do some of Trump's fans, sorry. I think the answer to that is yes. Let's just double check. It's like I said recently, if you saw a video that I did where I was talking about having a conversation with a Canadian Trumper. And all I could say was that I found it almost impossible to comprehend the fact that of the billions of people on the planet Earth, that was the best God could come up with to represent him and bring in this apparent rapture. Do some of Trump's fans actually believe he is the vehicle with which the rapture will happen, or he is the second coming of Christ? Yeah. And unfortunately, they're the ones who excuse everything, forgive everything. Will a war result from his poor foreign relation diplomacy skills? Okay, that's a really broad question. Let's just find the answer. Is he likely to trigger a war? Okay, that's a yes. Let's ask it this way. Is he likely to trigger or amplify an existing conflict? Yes. I don't know if you've heard, but his Nobel Peace Prize nomination has been pulled. So this is interesting. It was actually put forward by some Ukrainian politician type person when Trump was at least sounding like he would be able to. I think the thing went in November. It was, put forward. When he was making a big fuss about how he could end this, he could solve the whole problem between Russia and Ukraine. And now, not only has he not solved it, he's completely disregarding what's going on in Ukraine at the hands of Russia, but he's all focused on this whole Middle East thing. And so the person who put in the nomination pulled it. Simple as that. Now, so the question is going to be how fast before some flunky puts in another nomination. Will the big, beautiful bill pass the Senate as it is written at this time? No. Will Pete Buttigieg run for president in 2032 or 2036? Either or. That's a yes. Will he ascend to the office of the presidency at some point in his political career? That's a really strong yes. I have seen a letter in which Secretary General Mark Rutte, I think that's how you say it, heaped praise on 45 for his attack on Iran. Was he flattering 45, hoping he would come to NATO meetings this week and actually stay for the whole thing? Oh, God, let's see. Okay, it's a yes. Um, was he sincere? I think is the question I actually want to an answer to. No. Was he pandering, catering to 45's ego? Yes. And apparently again at NATO, he was, as he did at the G7 in Canada, was on about how, everybody was being mean to Russia and Russia should be sort of, back in the fold. So, um, I think it's Emile Beauvais, be appointed to a lifetime judicial appointment as a Third Circuit judge. He was named by the whistleblower as having instructed Department of Justice lawyers to ignore court orders. Let's ask if that was true. Let's just double check. So, did Mr. Beauvais actually instruct Department of Justice lawyers to ignore court orders? Was that something he actually told them? Yes. Um, will he be appointed to a judicial appointment in the Third Circuit? Okay, as of right now, that's a no. What I'm hearing is that it's very likely that there will be pressure applied um, by the higher courts, possibly even the Supreme Court, who do not take kindly to their orders being poo-pooed. Okay, I'm very interested in seeing what you think about terrorism on the 4th of July protests in the United States. So next weekend, the next week, we are celebrating July 1st here in Canada. You are celebrating July 4th in the United States. So it sort of ends up being a long weekend in both countries. I'm not sure if Mexico celebrates anything around here or not. If anybody out there knows, let me know. I would just be curious. Okay, so are there going to be acts of terrorism that take place at any gathering or event on July 4th? As of right now, that's a yes. Because this person is saying it seems to me the perfect day for Iranians to retaliate. Well, and argue. Um, will any of these terrorist attacks um, cause significant and serious damage? Canada boy. Unfortunately, that's a yes too. Let's just hope that the energy shifts and changes. Um, so will there be a heightened risk of terrorist attacks during any of the 4th of July weekend protests? A heightened risk, and that's a yes. Are any of the attacks going to be like really, really, really significant, like 9/11? Okay, that's a no. And I'm not minimizing it, right? Any attack anywhere where anybody is injured or killed is serious. I guess though it's just sort of the degree, right? Um, it's one thing when 3,000 people die, and it's another thing when 2 or 3 die. Not minimizing their death at all. It's tragic. But all right, I'm really hoping the pendulum's wrong. Sometimes it is. So let's hope this is one of those times where the pendulum is responding to anxiety energy, and is, its influence, its answers are being impacted, because that can absolutely happen, right? Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you very, very much for being here. I appreciate all of you being here. There's a lot of you who only watch the Pendulum Friday videos, and that's okay. I appreciate the viewership. But you might want to check out the other ones. Also, for those people who also look forward to the Pick Your Crystal reading that will be out on Saturday morning, like always. So it's the weekend. Do something nice for yourself and someone else. Take a deep breath, relax, don't get stressed. And Joyce or Beth, whoever's doing next week, would you please repeat the questions with regards to the 4th of July in that Pendulum Friday video so that we can ask them again right before the long weekend? All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.